I was planning on making this video sometime this year to celebrate the 30th anniversary for Resident Evil in general, but I think it's even more poignant to do it now that Sony has expressed their plans to stop production of the physical disc for PlayStation consoles going forward from 2028. I am honestly kind of saddened to hear that. It is very... I know that's where everything's headed, but I just didn't think it would be something that I would see this soon. It'll be the PlayStation 6, I think, that will take that into effect. I imagine they will have launched it by then. Essentially, what they're saying is that they are no longer going to print PlayStation game discs going forward from January 2028. So there's a potential that Resident Evil Veronica could be the last physical Resident Evil game that we get on the PlayStation consoles. That's just PlayStation. I know Xbox has their own. They're looking at doing something like disc to digital, and Nintendo's got their game cartridge or the game key card. So it is headed that way, but the fact that they're going to stop physically printing out these games is concerning, because I want to own the product. I want to be able to give the product to my friend, or let them borrow it or sell it if I need to. And if we don't have that physical product in hand, we can't do that. It's a little disheartening. But in light of that, I would like to show off my physical game collection, specifically when it comes to Resident Evil. I've been collecting physical media for probably about 10 years. I don't have like a ton. I do have more than I think like an average person would. It started out with Blu-ray discs. I really love Blu-ray in that format. I like being able to watch something in the best possible way that you can watch it. So I've been collecting those for about 10 years or so. I probably have around 650 physical discs. Some of those include like double movies or something like that. And then within the last 2 or 3 years, I've started physically collecting some video games. At one point, I got in my head that I wanted to collect all of the Nintendo Wii games. I really like those white disc cases and the spines, but there are just simply too many, and I don't have near enough room. So I picked specifically what I wanted to look for, and it was Resident Evil, and I also started collecting for Monster Hunter as well. I think I have almost all of the physical releases for Monster Hunter. Maybe I'll do that at some point, because I love Monster Hunter too. But I thought it would be fitting to go over and show everybody my collection in honor of Resident Evil and in memory of physical media. So I thought we'd start where it all started for me, and that's with the Nintendo 64 version of Resident Evil 2 here. I've got this. This is a reproduction case, but this is actually the game that I played growing up. So this is my first experience. Was born here, right here on the cartridge. It's seen better days. It's a little worse for wear, and to be honest with you, I don't even know if it still works. But I still have it, and it will be something that I will always have. And I've got this repro case that I found on Etsy. I think it's a little faded, but it works really good. So of course I don't have any intention to sell these afterwards, but it is nice to have. Next up, we have a couple of the handheld titles. I don't have Gaiden. That's one of those games that I think everybody's looking for, and it's stupid expensive. We've got Resident Evil Deadly Silence. This is a port of Resident Evil 1 for the Nintendo DS, and you see it says Deadly Silence for DS. This is actually a repro case too. I found it somewhere on Etsy. I'm not entirely sure, but the cartridge is here. This is actually something I didn't buy, but it was given to me by my brother, who my sister had given it to him. So it was one of those things. This is a fun fact. My favorite way to play the original Resident Evil on the DS. It's a lot of fun to have that dual screen. You got your map up the whole time. You've got like a knife button, kind of like an RE4. definitely my favorite way to play that game. I've got two Nintendo 3DS games here. This is the Revelations and the Mercenaries 3D. I remember really wanting the Mercenaries 3D because I was a big fan of that in Resident Evil 4 and in 5. It is really impressive to have this on a 3DS running because it's like the stages from RE4 and 5 and the character models and all of the enemies, and it actually runs pretty good on this. This is a complete in box case. Bought this a couple years ago. And then I have Resident Evil Revelations for the 3DS as well. This is not the misprint. It's actually spelled correctly here. And this is also complete in box. I have this digitally as well. I just thought since I started collecting physically, I might kind of peek my way into it, you know. Next up for Nintendo is the Nintendo Switch versions of the games. I have a couple here. We'll start with the Switch games. I've got all of these. These are the collection packs. These are actually sealed because I own all of these digitally. I didn't want to open them. The codes are still in there. I might give them to a friend or my brother or something. But this is the Origins collection. This is Resident Evil 0 and the 1 remake HD ported over to the Switch. Great way to play the game. I think they're locked at 30 frames on that. It's not bad. It's really not a bad way to play, especially because the originals were locked at 30 as well. Next, we've got our triple pack. This comes with Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6. This cartridge only has Resident Evil 4 on it. The other two are download codes. I should mention that each of these cartridges only have one of the games on it. So, for example, like this one here has Resident Evil 0, and Resident Evil 1 is a download code. 4 is on the cartridge here. And here is Resident Evil Revelations. Revelations 2 is one of the games that you will have to download from here. But it's just a little collection pack. Next, my newer one, and the one I'm kind of really proud of, is I was able to get the Resident Evil Generations pack for the Nintendo Switch 2. This is got a little slipcover on it. And in the little case here are the Switch 2 versions of Requiem, Village, and 7 Biohazard. So I actually have not opened Village yet. I have played a little bit of 7 and Requiem on the Switch 2. Again, I don't really collect to keep these sealed. I do intend to play them. I think that's the whole reason for me buying them, obviously. I pre-ordered this the moment that they announced it because I had already ordered it on Steam, and I pre-ordered it for the Switch 2 as well because I knew I wanted to buy it there. And I figured it would be something that would go quickly, and it didn't for a long time. But as soon as they announced that Leon was the second character for Requiem, boom, that thing sold out immediately. So I'm really proud to have this one. Next up, I have Nintendo Wii. So a lot of these game cases are going to have these little protective covers on them. They're not super necessary, but it's just kind of what I wanted to have them on while they were on my shelf, just to protect them a little bit. First one here is Resident Evil 0. This is a complete in box one. It's in pretty good condition. It is one of the ports of the GameCube versions to the Wii. So it's basically the same game. You can play it with the GameCube controller even, and that little classic controller that they have. Next up, the RE1 Remake. This is that same port. This is under that Archives banner. This is also complete in box. I have not played these because they are essentially just the GameCube ports. This is RE4 Wii Edition. This is probably my most played version of RE4 is on the Wii because it is that much fun to play. It plays like the GameCube game. It had like updated visuals. It had the stuff from the RE4 PS2 version, so like separate ways and a couple of those mercenary modes. Except you had the ability to aim at the enemies with your pointer. So it was more like mouse movement than it was aiming with a controller, which was really impressive. Up next is the Umbrella Chronicles. This is one of the 2 on-rail shooters that they did for the Resident Evil series on the Wii. On-rail shooters were kind of popular with that console, so having something like Resident Evil inspired is kind of just second nature for that, you know. This one specifically goes over the events of Resident Evil 0 1 and 3. So you kind of play through those campaigns as these are a lot of fun to play. Great recaps if you've never played the games or if you wanted to get kind of caught up on it. This is a great way to kind of experience those. They're not beat for beat like they would be in the original games, but they do a good job of kind of showing that there. Just like that, we've got Resident Evil The Dark Side Chronicles. This is one of those games that took me a long time to kind of find. It was kind of, I guess, expensive for what you would think, a 10, 12, 15-year-old game would be. I think I paid like $35 for this. It's interestingly what I paid for it the first time I bought it. So some of these games I've owned before and bought again, but this one covers the events of Code Veronica, Resident Evil 2, and it has a whole new campaign that kind of takes place before Resident Evil 4 with Krauser and Leon. I should mention that all those Wii games also have the manuals inside. Next up on the Nintendo list is the Nintendo GameCube, and we've got the original Resident Evil remake here. This is the player's choice version. It's got both discs, the manual on the inside, so this is complete in box. Man, this game is fantastic. It really is. Even though it was made 6 years after the original game on the PlayStation 1, the fact that the visual fidelity was so much more intense on the GameCube is insane. And I love what they did with the story here, all the stuff that they added in the game. It really, to this day, this Resident Evil 1 remake is one of the creepiest games. It gives me such an atmosphere or like vibe about it that like genuinely creeps me out. So it's a lot of fun to have. I also have the RE0. This is also complete in box, so I've got the manual in there, only to experience on the Nintendo GameCube. Yeah, right. I tried playing this game a few times. I've never beaten this one. I just can't get into it. Maybe I just need to sit down and like force myself to do it because I've heard great things. I know what happens. I just have never actually gone through and tried to complete it because it's just something I'm not super into. Now we move on to some of the more expensive games that I have in this collection entirely. And these are the GameCube ports for a couple of these games here. So I have the RE2 GameCube port. This has the manual and the discs. Is it one disc or is it two discs? I think it's just one disc, actually. This is the last one that I bought. Don't be fooled by that price right there. I did not pay $24.99 for this. I think I paid almost $80 for it. It might actually have been like $90, especially a complete box. That's a pretty good deal for that. All of this is paid for with birthday money, just nearly about. So don't worry, I'm not going crazy and buying stuff like this because I already own the game 4 or 5 times over. I also have Nemesis here. This one I do not have the manual for, so I paid $80. I got a discount on it because I bought some other games with it, but as kind of kismet, the way that I ran into this one is I was just on a work trip and I went down to this games shop in Corpus Christi, and it was in a case, and this and Resident Evil 2 were really kind of hard to find on GameCube, especially with complete in box. This one goes for like $115 with the manual, so I got it a pretty good price. The case is in pretty good condition. These are not reprinted artwork either. Resident Evil 4, this is the original print for this. I really like this cover, especially when you got Dr. Salvador right here. And then you've got that other banner only for Nintendo GameCube, infamously only for Nintendo GameCube, kind of betrayed and just ported to everything after that. This has the manual. An interesting piece about this one, I bought this one last year on eBay, and what's really cool about this one, and I really like it when I get stuff like this, but in this case also was the receipt from GameStop where this guy had bought it $49.99. Really cool to have the manual and the discs and that receipt in there. I think that really adds to it. I really like when I see stuff like that. Last one for Nintendo GameCube and the Nintendo collection in general is Resident Evil Code Veronica X. This is the port for GameCube. This is one of the most expensive games you can get. This is complete in box, so it's got the manual and the 2 discs inside. Some of these are in good condition. Some of them are in fair. So like this one is pretty good. It has some minor damage, like right here. You can kind of see it on Claire's shoulder. from the plastic, and that's why I got these other sleeves on here too. So I don't mind buying things that I don't want them to be mint, because I am using this. I play this too. I want it to be in a good condition, serviceable, but still presentable. You know what I mean? I don't want to buy something that's like torn up or anything like that. But that's not so bad, because I can get a different plastic case for it. The artwork I wanted right. I wanted the manual okay, and the discs. So this one I bought actually in conjunction with RE0 and RE1 as a bundle, and I got it for like this one can go for almost $200 on its own. It's like $180, kind of around there. So I want to say I paid about $180 for this and those other two games, so it was a pretty good deal. Again, birthday money there, but this is one of those that was kind of hard to find. I could never find this in stores, so I had to buy it from another person on eBay. Really, really happy to have this one in the collection. So next up is PlayStation, and I have 3 different consoles here. I've got PlayStation 1, 2, and 5, but we'll start with PlayStation 1 first. First thing I have here is the Director's Cut version of Resident Evil for the PlayStation 1. This is one of those games I got super lucky to find. I mean, it's the greatest hits version. It's not like super valuable or anything like that, but it is a little more expensive to find. This one also has the manual and everything on the inside. You've even got your like little registration cards and stuff. This is in great condition for where I found it. I used to work for Dish Network, so I'd go into a lot of people's houses, and I actually found this on a customer's like dusty old CD rack while I was installing their TV, and I just offered to buy it. So I got this, and actually Metal Gear Solid. I love the original version of Resident Evil 1, so it's something that I was really excited to find. Next PlayStation game I have is the RE2, Resident Evil 2 here. On the inside I've got some little pieces of like paper here to kind of keep the discs pressed in it, because sometimes these will fall out. There's a, where we go. We got Leon right there. Actually, the Claire disc is what's playing on that TV back there in my PlayStation 1. So, yes, I do play them, and I was playing Resident Evil 2 recently, so that's what's playing in the background there. You can see here I've got like just a little bit of tear on the front here, and this is one of those that I got for a deal. I got this for like $30 or something online, so this is a pretty good deal for that one. Next up are the games that I have for the PlayStation 2. I only have 2 of them here. I used to have a couple more of them, but these were lost to time. Who knows? First thing I have here is the Resident Evil Outbreak. I'm 90% sure I actually owned this game back in the day as well. I've never actually played it on the PlayStation 2 itself, like the hardware. I have emulated it before. It's an online game. You can play it by yourself, but it is definitely something that benefits from having other people play it with you separately. This is one of those that's a little more expensive. I think I paid $30 for it. I actually got this in tandem with one that is a little more expensive, which is Outbreak File 2. I want to say I paid like maybe $75-$80 for both games, which is, this one is around $75-$80 on its own. File 2 is probably around $20 to $30, but for both games, around $80. That's really good. This is one of those that's a little harder to find, especially out in the wild. And I should mention both of these are complete in box. And then we have going on to the next console, which is the PlayStation 5. I've got Resident Evil 2 Remake for the PlayStation 5 here. I just played this one recently. There's nothing too special about these PlayStation 5 versions, because they are pretty new and just reprints ports of the PlayStation 4 games. So I've got my Resident Evil 3 here. I actually don't think that is opened. And Resident Evil 4 Remake. So all 3 of these remakes, I think they line up pretty good on the shelf, because they've all kind of got similar spines there. I wish they lined up a little better. 4 is kind of in the middle there, but they do pretty good. A lot of fun to play. I also have here Resident Evil 7 Gold Edition. I think 2, 3, and 7 came out at the same time for the PlayStation 5, and I believe they had like ray tracing updates. There's not really much going on there, except the Gold Edition has the DLC. And then I've got Resident Evil Village. So it's kind of nice to have them. Like I said, they're newer. Nothing crazy about those. I will get Requiem for the PlayStation 5 eventually, and then I will start to look for PlayStation 3 and 4 versions of the games as well. Next on the list is my Xbox collection, and this is actually the last of the games that I have, physically at least. I've got a whole collection on digital, like Steam, and even the digital storefronts for Xbox. but this is one of the first ones I have. This is the RE2 Remake Deluxe Edition for the Xbox One. I would say these are complete in box, but they don't really have anything on the inside of the box. It's just a disc and maybe like a reversible cover in this case. I did order it through Best Buy, so I did get this nice steelbook, and it would be something that I would like to collect in the future. Next up, I have the Origins Collection. This is actually where I first played these games. I had not played them prior to the HD versions coming out. And again, this RE1 remake is something that still gives me Creeptail vibes. So I've got here Resident Evil Revelations. This is I guess technically it would be a 360 port. I think they have it on 360 as well, but yeah, ported from the 3DS, but looks and runs great on here. Got here Revelations 2, and this is one of those games that is a little frustrating to own because I have the disc here and it does not have but the first episode on it, because this game was released episodically, so that there's 4 episodes total. So you had the first one that came with the disc, and then you have the license to download the other ones, if I'm not mistaken. So I haven't played too much of this one. It's an okay game, not the best, not the greatest, but it's not bad either. Last but not least is Resident Evil 7 for the Xbox One. I went half and half with my sister to buy this game, and it was my first return back to Resident Evil since Resident Evil 6, because everything since Resident Evil 6 I wasn't a huge fan of, and Resident Evil 7 just kind of I know for me and a lot of other people kind of rejuvenated what Resident Evil could be, and that's kind of where they carried it forward, so it was really cool to have that. So in addition to the games, as you know, Resident Evil also is a film franchise, so I have those here, and I did collect those too. I also have the books, so we'll start with the books first. So these are novelizations of the games written by S.D. Perry, and you would be surprised at how well she can translate that from game to page. Having something like this, which gives you Jill's thoughts, separates the character from you, and is really interesting to see. But she does a great job of conveying that through the book, and I think it's pretty easy to read. Honestly, it's not too bad. Next up, we have the second book. It's Caliban Cove. This is an original story by S.D. Perry, so it takes place on some kind of like a beach setting, kind of ocean setting, with Rebecca here. This one's interesting. It's an okay story. Kind of ties some stuff over. Not a bad read at all. And then we have the City of the Dead here. This is the adaptation of the second game, so you've got Leon and Claire's perspective in this one. And this is kind of actually one of the thicker ones, but it's a pretty good read. These are the Titan books. Let's see if I can see it there. These are the Titan books versions of the covers, because there are like a separate print of these books that have like stylized art covers, but these are matching and paperbacks. I actually really enjoy these. 4 here is Underworld. This is also an original story. It takes place right after Resident Evil 2. I'm not entirely sure if I actually haven't read this one all the way through, but it is kind of an in-between piece between 2 and Code Veronica, if I'm not mistaken. Now, I could be wrong. Next is Resident Evil 3, or Book 5, which is Nemesis, is the subtitle. This is Jill's perspective in Raccoon City as she's trying to escape with Nemesis on her tail. This one is actually a really good one. I have read The Umbrella Chronicles, Caliban Cove, and Nemesis all the way through. The other ones I've kind of read. I actually bought this one used, but I have read this one a few times. Next up is Book 6, and this is Code Veronica. This is Claire as she's looking for Chris at Rockford Island after the events of Resident Evil 2. And the next one is Book 7, which is 0 Hour, which is the adaptation of Resident Evil 0. I think this is the last one that she did. And you can see here, let me get them again. Got them all lined up. They kind of match on that thing there. Now we go on to the movies. These are kind of interesting. So I've got the Blu-rays for the movies by Paul Anderson here. And these are the pop art versions of the covers for each of the Blu-rays here. They're just kind of generic. I wouldn't say generic. They're stylized, so it's interesting. But these have the movies in them. Each of these, I actually really like the first one and the second one, which is Apocalypse here. So this one's got Nemesis on the front. It kind of matches the style a little bit. Basically, you've got your art, and on the back here, just like with a dog, you've got your dog, and then you flip it, and it's just no dog. Kind of the same thing here. It's all made by the same dude. These are a lot of fun to collect for as well. Next up is Resident Evil Extinction. We've got a little crow here. I remember this being on the poster, and I actually remember watching Shrek the Third with my school and being excited because I saw a poster for this in the theater. And, my uncle liked these movies a lot. He liked the games too, but these movies he thought were really just, they're not, a lot of people rag on them, and they're not great, but they're good to turn your brain off popcorn movies. They made 6 of them, so they were successful, and they are one of the most successful video game franchise adaptations. So even though they're what they are, the first movie is a great representation of what Resident Evil is in general, and Resident Evil Apocalypse is like fan service, but after that, man, it goes off the rails. Next up is Afterlife. I remember seeing this in theaters with my uncle. This guy is from Resident Evil 5, if I'm not mistaken, and I remember the 3D quarters. Is it this one or the next one? It might be this one. I don't know. Alice shoots a shotgun loaded with quarters in it. I think it's really interesting. And then after that movie, we have Retribution here. Got a liquor on the front there, nothing on the back. And then this is the one I got recently. This is actually the 4K version of the final chapter. So this is the last movie in the series from Paul Anderson. Kind of ties everything together there. It's one of those things that I just, kind of collected for over time. It's just recently that I got this last one and kind of completed this. But you can see here they kind of go on that little shelf there. They're all very matching and uniform, and I think that's really cool to see. We also have Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. This is the reboot live action. I've got Claire and Wesker, Leon, Jill, and Chris. They tried to do a combination of Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2, some of it from the original game and some of it from the remakes. Honest effort, I think, was doing too much. There are some scenes in the movie that I think are really reminiscent of the game, and I think they did a good job. I think they did a great job casting Claire and Chris. Leon, Jill, and Wesker were a little bit, I don't think they did them very good at all, but Claire and Chris, I think, are pretty good castings for those characters. Yeah, just kind of a letdown. Some of it was interesting. Some of it was, it's not even that entertaining. It's just kind of one of those things you watch once and you're done. Now we'll move on to the last bit of the collection here, and that is the actually entertaining versions of the movies. And I've got a few of these here. First thing I got here is Resident Evil Degeneration. So this is the first CG movie. I remember when this came out. Actually, I had this on DVD, but this has Leon and Claire in it, and some of the things that go over in the movie are actually canon, so they do show up in the games later in the series. But this one's pretty fun. This is actually one of my favorite of the CG movies. Now we have Resident Evil Damnation. We've got Ada there, Chris and Leon. I think Degeneration, Damnation are a good pairing for those. This kind of watching back to back. It's probably pretty good. And the sequel to that one is Resident Evil Vendetta. We have Chris, Leon, and Rebecca here. There are some stupid moments in this. This is also one of those movies you just turn your brain off and watch because it's just action. It takes everything action about the games, and it's just action all the time. So it is fun. If you like the action bits of it, you're really probably going to like these movies. And then we have the Netflix series here. This is Resident Evil Infinite Darkness. I actually have not seen this. I know what happens in it, but it is, I think it's worth having. You know what I mean? So we actually have the voice actors from the RE2 remake doing this. So Stephanie Panisello and Nick Apostolides for Leon and Claire. for a great thing. So we'll see. And last but not least of the entire collection, we have Resident Evil Death Island. This is a lot of fun. I didn't expect to like the movie as much as I did, but to have all of, like, not all of them, but most of the main characters from the franchise. This one has Chris and Claire, Leon, Jill, and Rebecca all teaming up to take down this virus on an island. Kind of a lot of fun. It's one of those things that you just watch and you just turn your brain off, kind of like a lot of these movies actually, but it's definitely one of the better ones. So that's it. That's all my physical collection for the moment. I do plan on continuing the collection, so I still want to look for some of the games that I don't have and start collecting for the 360, PS3, and PlayStation 4 versions of those games. Again, just want to look for those at like a garage sale. I don't want to pay too much for those games that I already own. So yeah, in honor of Resident Evil and physical media, that was my collection. So let me know which one you thought was the most interesting, or your thoughts on your collection if you have one. I'd love to see it or talk about it. So yeah, thanks for watching.